Rare in the field of silence. When the body has lived too long in stress, there is a quiet ache that grows when the body has been living in survival for far too long. It is not the sharp pain of sudden injury, nor the immediate alarm of real danger. It is a deeper kind of erosion, the kind that happens in shadows over years without a clear beginning or a single cause. It is the slow wearing down of vitality, the invisible draining of light from the cells, the unspoken heaviness that settles in the heart when the world has been met not with trust, but with constant vigilance. In the language of the quantum field, this is not simply a mood or a passing emotion. It is a state of being encoded in chemistry expressed in every cell. It is the downregulation of the genes that once sang with balance and health. It is the quiet shutting down of repair, the silencing of the body's natural healing rhythms, as if the entire system has been convinced that the only task worth spending energy on is survival. And so the body diverts its power, away from renewal, away from immune defense, away from growth, to fuel the endless demand of alertness. The heart beats faster, not from joy or anticipation, but from the constant hum of fight or flight. The mind scans the horizon for what might go wrong, rarely resting in what is. The immune system, starved of attention, weakens. The digestion, neglected, loses harmony. The skin and bones and organs quietly age ahead of their time, as if the body has forgotten that life was ever meant to feel safe. And in this place of constant readiness, the soul begins to feel as if it is trapped in a small room with no windows. In this state, the field observes, patterns return. Even the diseases once healed can stir again if the emotional climate that fed them remains unchanged. The body remembers old chemistry as if it were a familiar song, playing it again when the mind lingers too long in the old moods. Lupus, cancer, Parkinson's, ALS. Conditions that are not just physical battles, but deeply intertwined with the inner state, have been seen to re-emerge when the body sinks back into the chemical bath of its old fears. This is the cost of a nervous system trapped in high beta. The mind becomes a narrow beam, lit only on what might harm us, unable to soften into the larger space of possibility. Thoughts loop endlessly, circling the same fears as if they were unresolvable puzzles. The brain cannot rest in the healing waves of alpha, cannot descend into the dreamlike repair of theta, cannot touch the ecstatic coherence of gamma. Instead, it hums with the noise of a world that feels perpetually unsafe. And in that noise, there is no silence in which to hear the deeper self. There is also a darker thread, the body's quiet addiction to this state. Adrenaline and cortisol, though damaging in excess, can feel like fuel. They sharpen, they heighten, they make every sense flare. And over time, the body can crave that sharpness even if it burns. Without knowing it, we may seek out situations, conflicts, or memories that spark the rush again. We may replay our pains not because we want them, but because the chemistry they bring has become our normal. This is the cruel cycle. The mind believes it is escaping pain, yet the body keeps summoning it. In this place, decision-making is no longer an act of vision, but of defense. Choices are made not from clarity, but from the narrowing lens of fear. Possibility collapses to whatever keeps us safe in the moment, even if it costs us in the long run. Relationships strain under the weight of a heart that cannot fully open while guarding itself against imagined harm. Words spoken in this state carry less patience, less tenderness. Communication breaks down not because love is gone, but because fear has made it difficult to feel. And then, perhaps most quietly of all, there is the story of lack. The mind, accustomed to hardship, begins to see the present through the shadow of the past. Even when life offers abundance, the heart remains braced for it to vanish. Even when the path ahead is open, the eyes keep searching for the next obstacle. The quantum field teaches that this expectation becomes a kind of instruction, the body and mind rehearsing scarcity so faithfully that the future begins to obey. What we fear, we feed. What we anticipate, we often create. But here, in the field of silence, there is another possibility. The body can be taught to trust again. The mind can be shown that the emergency is over. It does not happen through force but through presence. Moments in which awareness returns to the breath, to the heart, to the simple aliveness that is here without threat. It happens when the chemistry of fear is slowly replaced by the chemistry of elevated emotions. Gratitude, compassion, joy, love. These are not fragile feelings, but powerful physiological events that activate healing genes, strengthen the immune system, and invite the brain into coherence. It is in these states that the body remembers a different song, one that is not about survival but about creation. The heart's rhythm softens, sending signals of safety to the brain. The breath deepens, telling the nervous system that it may rest. The cells resume their work of repair. The mind, freed from the compulsion to scan for danger, opens to vision. And in the stillness, the field responds, not to the words we speak but to the state we embody. And yes, it will feel unfamiliar at first. The body, long accustomed to the sharp taste of stress, may not immediately trust the sweetness of calm. The mind may try to pull you back into the old loops, whispering warnings and what-ifs. But each time you return to the breath, each time you summon gratitude without condition, each time you allow your heart to open even when it trembles, you are rewriting the story in your cells. You are showing the body a new normal, one where rest is safe and joy is allowed. So here is the invitation. Step out of the cycle, even for a breath. Release the need to rehearse the past. Let the body feel something other than the rush of fear. Choose one elevated emotion, hold it long enough that the chemistry shifts, and let it teach every cell that safety is possible. Let the mind and heart rehearse a future that is abundant, harmonious, whole. Let this rehearsal be so vivid, so embodied, that the field cannot help but respond. In this way, the long story of stress can end. Not by erasing its chapters but by writing new ones. Chapters where the nervous system learns rest, where the genes awaken to health, where the brain returns to balance, and where life becomes less about bracing for what might happen, and more about creating what is meant to be. So breathe deeply, feel fully, rehearse with care, choose with presence, and become the version of yourself you are meant to be.